Toby's Triumph. It was a beautiful autumn day on the Island of Sodor. It was time for the harvest festival. All the engines were busy. They puffed across the island with their harvest festival deliveries. The Fat Controller came to Tidmouth with news of an exciting special. Alicia Botti was arriving to give an open-air concert at the picnic fields.
Toby and Henrietta, you are to collect Alicia Botti and take her from the airport to the picnic. Remember, Toby, boomed the Fat Controller, Miss Botti is a very special passenger. I am relying on you to do a very good job.
Thomas and Percy were excited for their friend. "I've never taken a very special passenger before," said Toby. "You take passengers all the time," tooted Thomas. "But not very special ones. I'm worried I'll make a mistake." As he and Henrietta were cleaned and polished, Toby was still worrying. And later, when the refreshments lady laid out a very special tea, Toby worried even more. As Toby puffed out of Maron Station, he was so busy worrying he forgot to slow down. Toby took the bend too fast. Henrietta rocked this way and that. The tea was spilt. Then Toby made another mistake. He was still worrying. He didn't see the red signal until the very last moment. He screeched to a stop. Henrietta biffed into him. All the cakes fell onto the floor. Just then, Percy puffed past pulling vegetables. "Hello, Toby!" he peeped happily. But Toby didn't hear him. He was too busy worrying about his very special passenger. Toby puffed under a bridge. The children waved, but Toby didn't see them. He was so busy worrying that he made another mistake. Toby took the wrong track. He rattled down an overgrown branch line. It was lumpy and bumpy, dusty and dirty, and the branches and bushes had covered them both in leaves. Thomas puffed by, pulling trucks of tomatoes. "Hello, Toby," he tooted. "What's happened to you?" But Toby didn't hear him. He was still too busy worrying about his very special passenger. Toby picked up speed. He was so busy worrying, he didn't notice the farmer waving from the fields. And he didn't notice the dip in the track and the big mud puddle.
"Slow down!"
cried Elizabeth. But it was too late. Toby splashed through the puddle. Henrietta was covered from bumper to buffer in dark brown mud. Toby arrived at the airport. When Alicia saw Toby and Henrietta, she was very upset. "I can't arrive at the picnic on such a dirty train," she cried. "What would my public say?" Toby was so worried he didn't know what to do. If Alicia Botti wouldn't get into Henrietta, Toby couldn't take her to the picnic, and the concert would be cancelled. Alicia saw that Toby was very worried. "Don't worry," she said. "A good clean is all you need." So at last Toby stopped worrying. Alicia carefully boarded Henrietta, and Toby steamed away to the washdown. "Don't worry, Toby," cried the workman. "We'll soon have you sparkling like new." They cheerfully got to work with buckets and brushes. Henrietta loved the foam and the fuss. Alicia Botti thought it was fun too. "I've never seen a coach have a bath before," she cried. "How delightful!" Soon the workmen were whistling, Alicia sang, and the refreshments lady made another special tea. And Toby stopped worrying. Everyone had fun. Before Toby knew it, it was time to go. Toby steamed towards the picnic fields. He came to a steep bend. Now he wasn't worried and he didn't make a mistake. Toby remembered to slow down. He puffed perfectly round the bend. He wheeshed through Knapford Station, while Alicia enjoyed her very special tea. Toby was doing a splendid job. When the children called "Hello, Toby," he rang his bell brightly. Toby wasn't worrying anymore. He took the right route and started to enjoy his journey. Even when he saw cows on the track, Toby didn't worry. Everyone helped clear the track. "Shoo, cows," sang Alicia Botty, and Toby joined in, ringing his bell. Soon the tracks were cleared and the cows were safely in their field. Toby puffed on his way. Toby stopped smoothly at the picnic. Everybody clapped. Alicia was happy, and so was the Fat Controller.
"Toby, you have done a very good job," he said.
Toby was pleased. He wouldn't worry about taking special passengers ever again. Smoke and mirrors. It was the day of the children's midsummer party. Thomas was on his way to Brendam Docks. He was to meet the Fat Controller and the Great Magician. The Great Magician was going to do a magic show at the party. As he pulled into the docks, the Fat Controller was waiting with the Great Magician.
"At the end of the party, the Great Magician is going to do a big trick," boomed the Fat Controller.
"I call it the grand finale,"
said the Great Magician,
"and I need some very special things for it."
Thomas thought this was very exciting.
"You, Thomas, will collect them,"
added the Fat Controller.
"and if you do your job well, you can be in the magic show."
Thomas was happy. He really wanted to be in the magic show. The Fat Controller told Thomas to listen very carefully.
"First, you must go to Maithwaite to pick up a blue box. Then you have to go to Marron Station to pick up a red carpet. And lastly, you have to go to Knapford to pick up a yellow sheet."
But Thomas wasn't listening. He was dreaming about being in the magic show.
"Can you remember that, Thomas?"
asked the Fat Controller. "Yes, sir," puffed Thomas, and he chuffed away. When Thomas arrived at Maithwaite, Elizabeth was making a delivery. "I'm going to be in a magic show," tooted Thomas. "I've come to collect something for the grand finale." "How jolly," steamed Elizabeth. On the platform was a brand new bright red phone box. "That must be it," whistled Thomas. And it was loaded onto his flatbed. "Next stop, Marron Station," Thomas tooted. Thomas puffed in to Marron Station. Bertie the bus was dropping off holidaymakers. "Hello," chuffed Thomas. "I'm going to be in a magic show." "That's nice," said Bertie. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to pick up something for the grand finale." On the platform was a stack of yellow deck chairs. "That must be it," whistled Thomas. The deck chairs were loaded onto his flatbed, and off Thomas chuffed. When Thomas arrived at Knapford Station, Henry was there. "I'm going to be in a magic show," puffed Thomas proudly.
"That's exciting," wheezed Henry. "Why have you come to Knapford?"
Thomas couldn't quite remember. I have to collect something for the grand finale. Something blue.
Well, puffed Henry, there's a big blue flag over there.
That must be it, whistled Thomas. The blue flag was soon loaded onto his flatbed, and Thomas puffed off to the party.
Thomas was sure the great magician was going to be very pleased with him.
Thomas arrived at the party. The children were very excited. They couldn't wait for the magic show to start. "I've everything you asked for," puffed Thomas proudly. "The red phone box, the yellow deck chairs, and the big blue flag." The great magician was very cross. "You have brought all of the wrong things. I need my red carpet, my blue box, and my big yellow sheet," said the great magician. "Without them, I can't do my grand finale." Thomas felt awful. He had been daydreaming about being in the magic show. He hadn't listened properly to the Fat Controller. He'd puffed to all the right places, but he'd picked up all the wrong things. "I'm sorry," he wished sadly. "I've been a very silly engine." The magic show was about to start. Then an idea flew into Thomas's funnel. "Please help me unload the flatbed, then I will pick up all the right things." In no time at all, Thomas was unloaded. Thomas knew he would miss the magic show, but he knew he had to be back in time for the grand finale. First, Thomas went to Maithwaite Station. Blue box, he whooshed to himself. And there he saw the big blue box. Thomas was pleased. Soon it was loaded, and Thomas raced off. Next, Thomas chuffed to Maron Station. Red carpet, he puffed to himself. And sure enough, there was a red carpet ready to be loaded.
Thomas was very happy.
Lastly, Thomas steamed into Knapford. Yellow sheet, he sang to himself. And there was the big yellow sheet. It was quickly loaded onto Thomas's flatbed, and Thomas raced back to the party. Thomas arrived back just in time for the grand finale. Thomas had missed almost all of the magic show, but he was pleased that he had done his job properly. The great magician began the grand finale. Abracadabra! Thomas was amazed. The children clapped and cheered. Shazam! "Oh!" cried the children. "And now for my best magic trick." The children laughed and cheered, and Thomas was the star of the show. Sir Handel in charge. Sir Handel is one of the oldest engines in the hills of Sodor. He knows a lot of things, and sometimes he can be rather grand. He enjoys telling the other engines what to do, and because he is a wise engine, the other engines do as he tells them. One morning, Sir Handel puffed into the transfer yacht. James was waiting.
"I have to take the Thing Controller to a meeting with the Fat Controller,"
snorted James. Just then, Mr. Percival arrived. He was late, and he was worried.
Sir Handel,
gasped Mr. Percival.
there's an important special today. I'd like you to be in charge of it while I'm away.
Yes, sir, chuffed Sir Handel happily. He liked the idea of being in charge. Now he could tell the other engines what to do.
Workmen must be picked up and taken to the forest,
Mr. Percival said. Sir Handel was excited.
The trucks must be taken to the forest and filled with logs,
added Mr. Percival.
Then the heavy train must be delivered back here. Thomas is coming to collect it very soon.
I'll find the very best engines, puffed Sir Handel.
Ask the first engines you see to do the special,
said the Thin Controller sternly. Sir Handel wasn't listening. He was thinking about telling the other engines what to do.
The job must be done very quickly,
cried the Thin Controller.
Don't worry,
Sir Handel hooted proudly, and he puffed away. I'm going to have a wonderful time, he whistled to himself. Up ahead, Sir Handel found Mighty Mac. He was helping workmen to lay the new track. I'm in charge of a very important special. I need an engine to pull a heavy train, Sir Handel chuffed. We can pull a heavy train, wheeshed Mighty. We're very strong, whistled Mac. But Sir Handel wasn't listening. I must find the very best engines. You must wait here, he puffed grandly. And he steamed off. Next, Sir Handel found Rusty. I'm in charge of a very important special. I need someone to pick up workmen, he puffed importantly. Rusty was very excited. I can collect the workmen, he hooted happily. But Sir Handel wasn't listening. I must find the very best engines, he huffed. Wait here. Then Sir Handel found Duncan and Peter Sam. They were racing down some twisty tracks. I'm in charge of a very important special. I need a fast engine to take a train to Thomas at the yards, chuffed Sir Handel importantly. We can pull trains faster than any other engine, Duncan and Peter Sam puffed excitedly. But Sir Handel wasn't listening. I must find the very best engines, Sir Handel steamed snootily. You must wait here. So the little engines pulled into a siding. Sir Handel felt more important than ever. Then there was trouble. Sir Handel arrived back at the transfer yards. Thomas had already arrived to collect the special. Where's my train? Tooted Thomas. Bust my buffers, cried Sir Handel. Sir Handel had spent so long looking for the very best engines, nothing had been done. Now he was very worried. Your special isn't ready, he wished sadly to Thomas. Thomas was surprised. Can you find engines to start work right away? He tooted. Then I can still deliver the special on time. This time Sir Handel was listening very carefully. He knew where all the engines were waiting. If I hurry, I can put the engines to work right away. Leave it to me, Thomas, he chuffed, and Sir Handel raced out of the yards. Sir Handel steamed over to Duncan and Peter Sam. Can you work on my special? He asked. We can pull the train along the twisty tracks to the forest, peeped Peter Sam. Faster than anyone, added Duncan. This time Sir Handel was listening. Please, start straight away, he wished, and he raced off to find Rusty. Rusty was still where Sir Handel had told him to wait. I can collect the workmen, hooted Rusty, and take them to load the timber. Please start straight away, Sir Handel huffed. Finally, Sir Handel found Mighty Mac.
We can pull the heavy timber train to the transfer yard,
Wheeshed Mighty.
we're the strongest.
Whistled Mac, and they steamed off. Sir Handel had listened carefully to everyone. Now, everyone was working.
The special will be ready for Thomas after all,
he huffed. Later at the transfer yards, Thomas's trucks had been loaded with the timber. Just then, James returned with the thin controller.
Well done,
Sir Handel, said Mr. Percival.
Did you enjoy being the engine in charge?
Yes, sir,
chuffed Sir Handel. He felt very happy. He had listened to the other engines, and now he was even wiser. Thomas and the Lighthouse. It was the Harvest Festival celebration on the Island of Sodor. There was to be a big firework party in the evening. All the engines had special jobs, and they were all very excited. The fat controller came to Tidmouth Sheds.
Thomas, you must take a new light bulb to the lighthouse.
Yes, sir, tooted Thomas.
The bulb must get to the lighthouse before dark, so that ships at sea can find their way safely home to Sodor. The light bulb will break easily. You must go slowly and carefully,
the fat controller added. So Thomas puffed quickly away to the warehouse. Thomas started to daydream about the big party. There would be clowns, the choir would be singing, and he'd see the wonderful display of fireworks. Thomas chuffed towards the warehouse. He was very excited. Thomas collected the light bulb. Then he set off slowly and carefully as the fat controller had told him. Thomas slowed down at every bend. And chuffed carefully through every junction. Thomas stopped at a signal. Emily was there. She was pulling the merry-go-round. She was very excited. "The fireworks are going to start when it gets dark," she cried. Thomas wanted to be back in time to see the fireworks, but the lighthouse was on the far side of the island. It was a long way, and it would take a long time to get there. Then an idea flew into Thomas's funnel. "I'm sure the light bulb wouldn't break if I went just a little faster," he chuffed. And so Thomas speeded up, just a little. Thomas puffed along. He saw James at the water tower. James had trucks and trucks of fireworks.
This is gonna be the biggest firework party ever,
James whistled happily. Now Thomas wanted to see the fireworks even more. "I'm sure I can go just a little faster," he chuffed. So Thomas speeded up, just a little more. Thomas chuffed faster still. The bulb started to rattle and shake on his flatbed. Every time Thomas met another engine, he became more and more excited. Henry huffed along with swings and a seesaw.
"It's going to be a wonderful party,"
puffed Henry. Thomas went a little faster. Then he met Toby with the coconut shy. "See you at the firework party, Thomas," he rang. Thomas went a little faster. He saw Percy with carriages of children in fancy dress. The children were very excited. "See you, Thomas," cried the children. Now, Thomas wanted to be back for the firework party more than ever. Before Thomas knew it, he was puffing very fast. Then there was trouble. Harvey was replacing some tracks. Workmen had put a barrier across the line. Thomas was now going too fast to stop safely. He bashed into the barrier and the light bulb broke. "Cinders and ashes," cried Thomas. "The lighthouse will not have its light and the ships won't be safe at sea." Thomas knew what he must do. Thomas puffed quickly back to the warehouse to collect a new light bulb. He knew now he would be too late to see the fireworks. Thomas had to stop at a signal. Edward was waiting. He was very excited. "I'm off to collect the Chinese dragon," he tooted. But all Thomas could think about was getting the new light bulb. With the new light bulb safely on board, Thomas set off slowly and carefully. He knew he must deliver this bulb safely to the lighthouse. So when Toby passed with the choir, practicing their songs, and when Edward passed with the Chinese dragon, Thomas didn't think about the firework party at all. Not once. Thomas arrived at the lighthouse just in time. The bulb was quickly unloaded. "Thank you, Thomas," said the lighthouse keeper, and Thomas puffed back to Tidmouth sheds. He knew he had missed the firework party completely. Then Thomas came to the top of a hill and he saw a wonderful sight. The lighthouse beamed brightly. The ship's lights twinkled in the harbour and the sea reflected the stars. And even though there were no rockets or Catherine wheels, Thomas thought it looked as wonderful as the fireworks.